quick recap for UFC 312. I'm just going to focus on the co-main and main. I really didn't pay a lot of attention to the undercard of the main card or to the preliminaries. But if there's any outstanding performances that you like me to watch, please mention that in the comments. Okay, so the co-main and main and still. So I think Zhang Weili basically broke Tatiana Suarez with a hard right hand. Suarez was fighting out of southpaw stance for a striker. I believe Suarez is probably a right-handed person, and so that's her stance from wrestling. So she just kept the same stance for striking. Again, that's I wouldn't say it's something I mention a lot, but I think it's something that should be rethought by grapplers, judokas, wrestlers who switch over to MMA. You got to really reconsider whether you want your dominant hand as your jab hand or you want your dominant hand as your power shot in the rear. Now, Suarez did, I think, win the very first round. She was able to get Weili on the ground, very close to the cage, and Suarez really had more top control. She wasn't able to get a submission. And surprisingly, Weili was able to get Suarez down on her back close to the cage towards the end of the first round, but Suarez had more control time on the ground, so we have to argue that we give Suarez the first round. But from that point forward, it was really Zhang's striking skills that set the tone. As the fight wore on, Zhang also got a little more used to Tatiana's timing of her double or single leg takedowns. Also, to her credit, Zhang was able to reverse one of those takedown attempts and get Tatiana down. I believe the key moment in that fight came in the third round when Zhang really rocked Suarez with a right hand. Now, if you're in what MMA people call open stance, meaning one person's right-handed, the other person's left-handed, then that left-handed person is definitely open for that right hand, the reverse punch from the right-handed person. Similarly, their best weapon is a straight left. But I feel like Suarez's corner work was not as top-notch as it could have been, because they should have trained her how to focus on getting away from that right hand. She really didn't move her head off center line enough. Again, that's a habit I feel that carries over from wrestling, where you're taught to keep your torso upright and you don't want to move your head. You want to cement your head to your torso. You're conditioned not to move your head because if your opponent can move your head, they can move your body and get you down. So from the third round on, I think Weili just showed us why she is the champion. Her body language was that of someone with supreme confidence. She was constantly bouncing on her live feet, moving laterally, and just really choosing her shots, choosing her strikes. So I believe all three judges gave Suarez the first round and then awarded Zhang the rounds 2 through 5. Again, I'm going to be a little bit critical of Suarez's corner, but I feel they should have perhaps rethought their game plan and worked a little bit more on her head movement defense, knowing that Zhang is such a terrific striker. Okay, so let's move on to the main event. Technically, both duplessis and Strickland fought the way they did in the first fight in terms of their technique. As I had mentioned in the pre-fight breakdown, neither man can really change the way they fight. What they could adapt, however, are some of their tactics. Now, the burden, I felt, was really on Strickland to make the change-up, and unfortunately for him and his corner, he didn't do that. Now, when I say a change-up, what I would have wanted to see from Strickland would be a gear shift, like a dramatic gear shift. I mean, it was fine for Strickland to simply move backwards or do a little bit of a shoulder roll motion to evade Dricus's onslaught as Dricus just sort of charges forward with his strikes. However, you do not win the fight by showing decent defense. So if I were Strickland's corner, I would have asked him during training camp to develop a second gear, maybe even a third gear, where we say, hey, look, when you snap into this other gear, you have to go double time with your feet and double time with your hands. Maybe even quadruple, right? You got to go from the quarter note, the 8th note to the 16th. And seeing as Strickland just loves to spar, probably more than he wants to do any drills, you do that drill during his live sparring sessions where you just call out, now, double time, or whatever it is. You can do that type of drill on a heavy bag, but Strickland just strikes me as the type of athlete who probably doesn't love doing heavy bag drills. He's even said he'd rather just always spar. So have him do that drill during sparring. Now, the other thing that did occur was, once again, Sean Strickland got a cut, this time on the bridge of his nose. I don't think that impeded his vision. I don't know. I didn't watch the post-fight press conference, so I don't know what he said about it. But it did not give a good look on camera, not good optic, as we say, with the blood just covering bottom half of his face for the championship rounds. So once again, pointing in the direction of my pre-fight breakdown, since Sean mentally decided to blame his first loss on the cut, my question was, so what happens if he gets another cut in this fight? Does he just automatically just give up or turn off mentally? So we really have to hear from him. I guess I will check out all the sort of post-fight interviews a little bit later today, but I'm curious to know what went through Sean's mind once he got that cut on the bridge of his nose. Now, once again, I'm gonna just express my displeasure with UFC so-called cut men, because I just feel that they don't do the greatest job of closing cuts, of bringing down swelling, and those are two factors that can really actually change the course of a fight. If your cut man can't close a cut or doesn't bring down the swelling, both of those situations could lead to the fight being stopped, rightfully so, by the ref and the doctor at cage side. So I really, really wish that the UFC would invest in training their cut men. Get some veterans to mentor these guys, pay them to consult with the cut men on your staff, to show them how to properly wrap hands, how to put grease on the face before the fight, and how to close cuts, how to bring down swelling. Unfortunately for everybody, those are the last two are skills you got to learn on the job, meaning you got to actually try to close a live cut. I know I can do it because I've done it in a sparring session when someone got cut. But back to the fight. So I really feel like Strickland never really snapped himself into a higher gear to really dominate, which is what he needed to do to win this fight with Dricus. So that's my take on the main event, is really Strickland didn't step up to the plate for whatever reason. But what did you guys think of the fights? What did you think of Zhang's performance? What did you think of Dricus duplessis' performance? Who would you like to see both champions face next? And what do you think is next for Tatiana or Sean Strickland? Let me know what you guys think in the comments. Thanks very much for watching. Please do remember to hit the subscribe and the notification bell. That way you know if we ever go live. Also, please consider joining as a member. You can scroll over to the join button, and all members get early access to long form content as well. They get priority in terms of replies from me in the comments. So thank you again, and I hope to see you soon.